Good morning and welcome to Waypoint. It's so great that you guys are with us this morning. If you're new, I hope you've had your coffee. If you've been with us for a while, I also hope that you had your coffee. If you've been with us for a while, you like what you see and you want to find out more about what we're about, what we do, we're going to have the gallery space available at the end where a staff member or a volunteer will be there to answer your questions as to what we're all about. If you've been coming for a while and you want to get more involved, you want to get connected, that's also the place for you to go to find out what that next steps are. Tonight at 5, we've got Leader Equip. Leader Equip is for our group leaders, but it's also open for anybody that leads in any space. You're more than welcome to join Leader Equip tonight at 5 o'clock. And then we've got Avontuurweek that's coming up, Adventure Week. Adventure Week is going to be from the 11th to the 15th of July. It's an amazing opportunity for us as a faith community to connect with the people in our area. It's not a babysitting service. Yes, that's what's going to happen for parents that need to work, but that's not the point. The point is for us to be able to connect with kids, use that week as an opportunity to introduce them to Jesus, get them connected so that this becomes a space that's safe for them and a space where they can have those difficult conversations with people that they trust. So that's our purpose with Adventure Week. If you want to contribute to Adventure Week, what Alta's busy collecting to get ready for that, if you've got any cement left over from a building project, she's going to use that for project. Toilet rolls, keep them. And then any off-cut pieces of aluminium tin foil, she's also collecting that. So please keep that for Alta, bring it with you next Sunday and contribute towards making Adventure Week happen. Then I'm just going to take you through what's going to happen this morning in case you're new with us for the first time. The toilets are through the courtyard to your left. And for this morning, we're going to be together for an hour. I'm going to hand over to Tiaan in a second with the band. And after a few songs, he's going to do the message for us, Faithful, our series that we're in part 3. What an amazing series this has been. And then he's going to close at the end. And that's it from me. Tiaan, thank you.
Thank you, Dirk. Okay, guys, we're gonna sing some songs. And the first song, I want you to really see. This first song, I love this song, and this is the season that we're in, looking at faith. We're going to be singing 3 songs. And I want you to really, when we sing these songs, let your mind go back to, maybe your life, maybe a bit recently, and try and see the faithfulness of God. Even those moments that you thought, weren't that significant. But looking back now, man, if it wasn't for those moments. So the first song we're going to sing is called Glorious Day. And I love this song because it's part of most of our stories, If you're a Jesus follower, you know this story very well. You were in darkness. You were dead. And God came and He brought you back to life. So I want to invite you guys to stand as we sing the first song. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. when I met you. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, but chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing, now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, my eyes are open, 'cause when you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness, into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave. I love the next song. And maybe this is you today. You just need to believe again. Maybe you just need to trust again that just with one word, everything can change. That maybe just by God speaking to you today, your situation can change. Just one word, you calm the storm that surrounds me. Just one word, the darkness has to retreat. Just one touch, I feel the presence of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. There's nothing that our God can't do. There's not a mountain that He can't move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can't do. Just one touch, you heal broken inside me. Oh, just one word, and you revive every dream. Just one touch, I feel the power of heaven. Just one touch, my eyes were open to see. My heart can't help but believe. our declaration. We're going to sing, I believe, for greater things. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of... Let's sing that again. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power. Let's sing it again. I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let all agree. There's no power like His power. There's nothing that our God can do. There's not a mountain that He can move. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, there's nothing that our God can do. There's not a prison wall He can break through. Oh, praise the name that makes a way. There's nothing that our God can do. Oh, 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 I will believe for greater things. There's no power like the power of Jesus. Let faith arise. Let all agree. There's no power like the power of Jesus.
The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. I'll worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Yes, Your name is great and Your heart is kind. For all Your goodness God, for your faithfulness. We can stand here, and through it all, we can say that you've been good. And God, this isn't easy. You didn't promise an easy life, but you said that it would be worth it. So, Father, may we, as we are together, Father, experience you as our Father and experience you as the head of your church, of your community, for a community that is known by and is branded by its love, its caring, and by its openness. Thank you for today, and Father, we pray that you would be front and center of everything that happens. Amen. You guys can take a seat. Thank you very much.
So when you talk to someone or you hear a lot of stories, and especially faith stories, most of the time, this is a moment that usually comes out of those stories. You hear a lot of this. I'm so glad he showed up in my life when he did. Or, I'm not sure I would have made it through it without her. You can look at your wife when you say that to her later. It's just a free tip from me. It pays off. But here's the awesome thing about these moments, and when we see these stories, we see these moments in these stories. These people, what these people have in common, it's like these people that were like dropped in. It's like it was just dropped into their life. It's like those claws that you get that you drop the toy in, you know. Except you don't grab the toy out, you drop the toy in, and it just drops it there, and it's like that person just dropped into your life. You don't know how it happened, you don't know what, but you're just so glad that what these people have in common, they bring something to the table, and what all of them have in common is they bring this, they bring insight, they bring encouragement. They encourage, they bring, clarity, but they also encourage. You walk away from that relationship, and what you get from that relationship is a sense of, man, things are going to change, or things are going to be okay. But they also get this, and this is big, perspective and hope. And perspective, those people, and in a lot of these stories of that person, or maybe you think of your own life, what that person was that you just know if it wasn't for that person, odds are that person brought some perspective to the table. They brought something outside of the situation that you were in that brought clarity around where you were at. And all of a sudden, things just changed. And obviously, hope. I don't need to say more about that. Well, if you're here for the first time, I'm so glad you joined us. If you joined us now online also, you've joined us smack bang in the middle of our series called Faithful. So I want to encourage you, go and watch the first two. It's on the app, on our website, and YouTube. You can go watch it there. So we're looking at this series called Faithful, and it's fueling your faith in a world on empty. You guys are getting tired of this joke, but I'll keep telling it because I like it. We're not talking about world on empty. We're not talking about just your petrol tank. Okay. We are also talking about people's emotions, people's vitality, people's list for life. And a lot of times, if I look at that world on empty, I just think about my sanity. If I look at what's going on these days, I sometimes feel like my sanity is very close to empty. But fueling your faith. How is it possible? And we've all seen these people that you look at their lives and you see, oh wow, like how is that person still have an unwavering trust in God in spite of their circumstances? How can that be? How is that even possible? Well, this series we're looking and see that is actually very, very possible for you, but it is grounded in the simple invitation that Jesus gave all those years ago. It's this: follow me. Jesus said, come, follow me. I'm not asking you to have all the answers. I'm not saying you're going to know the destination, but I'm inviting you to follow me. Come, trust me. Come. It's a follow. And unfortunately, through the years, the church has taken this follow me to mean this: believe in me, which it is not. Because here's the truth: a faith that's built solely on belief is a weak faith. It is a fragile faith, and it is a faith, and it is maybe the reason why if you've walked away from faith, maybe this is the reason why you walked away from faith, because it was built on belief and not on follow. Because you see, a faith that's built on belief doesn't mean anything to anybody. Simply belief, it doesn't make a difference. Think about it. You can believe yourself to a better, healthy body, but unless you don't do anything, that belief will get you nowhere. You can believe that you're going to have the best marriage ever, or you're going to believe that your relationship in your marriage can be restored, but unless someone does something about it, it's not going to change. And that's exactly the same when it comes to your relationship with God. When it looks like, and that's why, by the way, why we call it a faith journey, not a belief journey. Because faith requires action. So we're asking this simple question, and this is the invitation. What if you woke up every morning, and what would your life look like if you woke up every morning and answered this question: what would I do if I was confident that God was with me? If I knew, as I knew, that God was with me, in spite of, what would look different? What would I invest in? How would my time look? What would I leave? What would I reject? What would I accept? Who would I trust? So, based on what Jesus taught, based on thousands of faith stories, we're confident that we're looking at 5 things, catalysts, that God uses to grow your faith. We're going to look at 5 in this series. What fuels and facilitates and develop an active, enduring faith. A faith that's in spite of, I'm going to follow Jesus anyway type of faith. What is that fuels it? The ingredients, as you were, to this recipe. What is the ingredients for getting this faith to grow? So, first week we looked at practical teaching. Practical meaning it has to be an active faith. And when your active faith intersects with God's faithfulness, your faith grows. And the awesome part is God's faithfulness is God's faithfulness. So that's not the determining factor. The determining factor is your active faith. So it's an active faith. And odds are, and if you look at most faith stories, something happened, or there was a teaching, or maybe there was a relationship, or something happened where you were moved from just simply believing to actually doing. And that was practical teaching. The second one, personal ministry, was last week, and we looked at how you stepping out of the boat, stepping into uncertainty, stepping into trusting, not having all the answers, but trusting anyway with what God, what you have, We looked at the fishes and the loaves story, as most of you know. Looked at that, just bringing what God has for me and seeing what happens and seeing what He does with that. And that, in most stories, that is a catalyst for growth. It is certainly in my story a big catalyst of God using you. When you experience that God can use you to do something, man, that changes everything. But it requires you to take that step. It requires you to do something, to be about someone else. Now, today, we're going to look at something that is part and parcel. It is probably ingrained in the DNA of faith. It is such a big part, and this is it. It's providential relationship. Now, I know we have some Afrikaans people in the church, and you're looking at providential, and you're like, province! No, that's not what I'm talking about, although they did win yesterday. I'm very happy about that. But we're not talking about province. We're talking about providential, which means it is, providential means it is at the most opportune time. Providential, when something is providential, it means it is at the most opportune moment that thing takes place. So when you see a providential relationship, it is a relationship that couldn't be manufactured. It was meant for that time. It was meant for that moment. It was meant for a time like that. A providential relationship. And when we look at providential relationships, it's like God, like I said in the beginning, it's like God dropped them into your life at just the right time. Just the right time. You look back, and as I'm talking and as you're thinking, some names are coming up, some situations where you remember that phone call, that coffee, that person. And for some of us, it seemed like this word, divine intervention. For some of us, it was a literal intervention. But for some of us, it was like a divine. It was like someone was standing on the outside, looking at the story of your life, saw that point, and they pushed that person in there. Like, go! It's go time. Because there's no other explanation that could have happened. It's almost like it was meant to be. Now, what was amazing about Jesus was every single one of his relationships were providential relationships. Nothing happened by accident. When he was around people, everything was so intentional. And he showed us that it is possible. Everything he did was so intentional. All his relationships were so intentional. They were all providential. But not just that, is his followers, as his relationship with his followers were providential relationships, they began to influence people around them without them even knowing, because Jesus changed everyone's life he was in contact with. Everyone was changed. I'm going to repeat that. Jesus didn't change everyone's life, but everyone walked away from Jesus different every time they interacted with him. And this is what happens with his followers, is they started to influence people without them even knowing it. One such a story is Philip, who Jesus had asked Philip the golden question. Philip, no, didn't ask him, he kind of told him, follow me. And Philip took that on. But Philip wasn't just satisfied with that. You see, Philip had a friend, and his friend's name was Nathaniel. And so Philip says to Nathaniel, I've met the Messiah. I've met the one we've been waiting. Our people have been waiting for hundreds, thousands of years. I've met the one. And obviously, like probably most of us would respond, is Nathaniel, probably responded, yeah, sure you have, man. Cool. Where did you say he was from again? Yeah, Nazareth. And this is what he replied. He said, Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Now, we all live in Port Elizabeth, so you'll probably, odds are you probably relate with what I'm about to tell you about Port Elizabeth. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people in South Africa look down on Port Elizabeth. Ne? Depending on where they live, we're either very close to Cape Town or very close to Durban. That's about the extent. And there's wind. That's about as much. So you can almost imagine this, like this Joburg boykie saying, Port Elizabeth, how can anything good come from Port Elizabeth, You think, if you think about it in those terms. But this is what Nathaniel is saying, like Nazareth, he's kind of making a comment, how can anything good come from Nazareth? And Philip answers like this. He says, listen, I'm not trying to explain it to you. I'm not going to try and convince you, but you need to come and you need to see. And he nudges him. He's not afraid to challenge him. He's not afraid to bring him along. Odds are probably against Nathaniel's will. But here's the amazing part is Nathaniel accepted that invitation of come and see. And don't miss this. This moment was the difference between Nathaniel just going on with his life and Nathaniel being talked about 2,000 years later in a church. Well, it's not really a church building. It's a residential. Let's call it a industrial building where we gather. And we would be talking about Nathaniel. How amazing is that? His life would forever be changed. He would travel the world and eventually die for this, not belief in Jesus, but a faith in Jesus. He would eventually die, and he would tell you, I'm sure, first one to tell you, he would do it all again. And he would also be the first to tell you, if it wasn't for Philip giving me that invitation, my life would look a lot different. Don't miss that. So, and this is big. And all of us have that person, most of us have that person in our lives. You can, as I'm talking, you can think of it. You can think of those people, that person that invited you to church, or that invited you to group, or just invited you for a coffee and maybe it was, they just sat with you week after week. You guys got together and just chatted and there, just consistency in loving you, and there's the consistency in accepting you, and not, not having an agenda, but just helping you. That person might be the reason why you are where you are today. Just like that, there are people in our lives that we wish we hadn't met, but there are those people that we wish we had met. And here's the amazing part is Jesus doesn't just invite you into the most amazing providential relationship, which is relationship with the God the Father, but he also invites you to have a providential relationship with fellow people. But it gets better than that. Yeah, it gets better. There's more. And this is what Jesus also invites you. He also invites you to be the providential relationship. For you to be a part of someone's story. But I'll get to more on that in a moment. The next part that I want to read to you is a verse in Hebrews, because this is big. So you guys know now what providential is. I've spent some time on that. If you have any questions, we'll answer. But you guys know what providential relationship is. But now the next part that I'm going to read is, if you've had struggled with your faith journey, if your faith journey has been, kind of one of up and down, and then you're feeling God is far away, and then you think, and then God is close again, but then you feel God is far away, and maybe then you've lost faith for some reason, odds are the next verse might be the very reason why you've lost faith, or why you're losing faith, and you can't understand why. This is a big verse, and the first time I read this verse, it didn't sink in. I was just kind of reading over it, and then I read over it again, and then by the third time, it hit me. It knocked my wind out, because I realized that was my story for so long. So, listen to this. So the author of Hebrews writes this because he recognizes the importance of these providential relationships, and he realizes the importance that these relationships have, not just in your life, but actually in the plan that God has for When I say the church, I mean you being the church. The community, a gathering of people. This is what he has. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess. For he who promised it is faithful. So he's starting off with saying, listen guys, all this, all this stuff, don't just let this be a belief. Hold on to this unswerving hope that you profess. Live it, breathe it, eat it. For he who promised is faithful. Meaning God will always hold up his end. God will always be faithful. He doesn't change. And then he says this, and let us consider, so it doesn't just happen. Let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. I love that. Let us consider how we can spur one another. It means there's an intentionality to providential relationships. There's an intentionality to that person. There was an intentionality, that person that forever changed your life by meeting that person. There was an intentionality to that you missed. Don't miss that. It is a considering. It is a thinking. It's almost like a planning. It is like a focus on that person. And we looked at last week, when your focus shifts from yourself onto others, and taking the faith step is not about you taking the faith step, but it's about how you can be a blessing to others, to God and to others. All of a sudden, the focus goes onto the other person. All of a sudden, you become the blessing to someone else. And this is what a providential relationship is when you're in that, is you become a blessing for that person. So let us consider how we can spur one another towards love and good deeds. And then this is the kicker. I love this one. Not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another. A few weeks ago, we talked about Jacques Malan. He talked about just like there's natural laws, if I kick that guitar, it's not going to float to the roof. If I kick that guitar, it's going to fall down the stage. That's the law of gravity and of kicking. It's going to fall. Every single time. There's not 8 times doing it and the 9th time it goes up. It's every time it's going to happen. So just like there's natural laws, there are spiritual laws. Laws in the spirit, meaning that if you do this or you don't do this, the result will always be the same. And one of these laws, spiritual laws, is this. Proximity matters, especially in faith. It's like relationships. I can't have a relationship with my wife if I'm never with my wife. You know those relationships. It's hard to keep a relationship going if there's distance between you and the relationship and between you and the other person. In your relationship with God, if you constantly view your relationship with God as God being up there and I'm trying to reach Him, or it's constantly, praying to God up there and He's far away and He occasionally comes and checks in on you. If that's your idea of the relationship with God, your relationship is going to look a lot different than someone whose relationship with God is based on the knowledge that God is in them, God is with them, God is near them, God is working through them, and wants to be a part of their lives. That relationship is going to look a lot different. Why? Because proximity matters. And it's more, and even more so in the physical. But it has to be in the spiritual. So, here's why proximity matters. Because people lose faith when they lose contact with people of faith. It's a law like gravity. It is a spiritual law. And you've seen this. And this is convicting, guys. It's not something that, because we've all, especially in the last 2 years, have had the inclination to withdraw as soon as things start getting crazy. As soon as things don't go my way, or it's a tough time, or I feel ashamed of something that I've done, or feelings of unworthiness or just all around slag. We've all been there. Our natural reaction is to withdraw, to say, no, I've had enough. Give me some space. Now, there are moments that you need space, but when I'm talking about withdrawal, it is to withdraw from community. To say no. To stop pitching up. To stop going to stop surrounding yourself with people of faith. And this is why it's so important. Look at this. When we see God's faithfulness in someone else's life, it's easier to trust Him with ours. When you see, wow, that could happen. If it could happen with that person, maybe it can happen for me. Because here's the danger of being isolated. Here's the danger of distancing yourself from people of faith. Is your head is your worst enemy. Your head is always going to play with you. Your head is always going to try and think your way into situations. And the awesome thing about people of faith and surrounding yourself with people of faith is that people of faith's focus is already on people, on one another. That's how Jesus designed it to be. That's how He designed it. He said, go and make disciples. That was His command. And He talked to the church. He talked to the church not as a building, but as a gathering of people, as a community of which He is the head. And the rest is part of His body. And if you distance yourself from that body, but you think you're okay, you think you're going to be okay, you're going to be fighting this thing alone, but you're distancing yourself from the body. I don't know if you've ever seen a body part detached from a body. What do you call that? Gross. I don't know. But there's another way of thinking. There's no life there. There's no life there. And here's the danger. If it's a finger or something, yes, it can be reattached, but you need to move because time is running out. And if you are in a situation where you are detached from community, you are in a very, very, very vulnerable place. It is not, didn't think this up. It is just true. And if you look at your life, the moments that you withdrew from community, that you withdrew from relationships, how did that work out for you? Did it work out better? Odds are it didn't. Not if this spiritual law is true. So let's spur on one another, not just in faith, not just, encouraging, but let's start spurring on one another to not isolate. Because if the past 2 years has shown us anything, it's isolation is now a very convenient excuse. Very convenient. And I'm not saying you moet elke aand, we're not saying, but being connected, being present, consistently being surrounded by people of faith. Being surrounded by people that you know are going to build you up, people that you know are going to be there as the Paul fans strike. When you know it is there when life happens. Why? Because they know. They're walking in faith and they know that what's around us, whether it's water shortages that's coming or whether it's, ESCOM, or whether it's unemployment, or whether sickness happens, these are the people that are going to be there. These are the people that are going to be with you in hospital. These are the people that are going to be with you when your son graduates when you didn't think he's going to graduate, but now they're celebrating with you because he did it. And guys, that's how Jesus designed it to be. That was His plan all along. So, providential relationships, staying connected to a community of faith, it grows your faith. It's as simple as that. And if you're sitting here and you're not connected, I want to tell you it's okay. I'm not saying, I'm not forcing you to do anything. But our heart, and this is why we started this movement, is to bring people into community, because we know how broken the world is. We know that you can't do this alone, and we know how many people is sitting out there, sitting in the flat, sitting at a home, and that have no hope. They feel like they're all alone, and they know isolation. And that is not acceptable for us when we were called to be Jesus for one another. So, if that's you, if you're not connected, and you want to know more, and there's no expectation to this next invite, but I want to encourage you to take that step. We're going to launch Starting Point very soon. And Starting Point is the video that you saw in the beginning, and Dirk purposefully didn't mention it because we wanted to let it linger a bit. We wanted to, for especially you guys that like stuff done like this, I wanted to push you out of your comfort zone. But Starting Point is just like everything has a starting point, your faith journey also has a starting point. So maybe you're already on your faith journey and you just want to check, okay, did I start this thing right, or is there some stuff that I need to sort out? Or maybe this is all new to you and you just want to see what this faith thing is all about. Or maybe, and here's maybe some of you, is just to get connected. Just, meet some people, get some input, and see what group would be like. So Starting Point is launching very soon. And I want to invite you to sign up after the service. As you walk straight out this door, you're going to see there's a table there with Starting Point on it. And all you have to do is just sign up, and we will contact you tomorrow and get on that. And then there's no expectation. And what Starting Point is it's 4 weeks. We're just going to ask 4 weeks to come check it out, and it's going to be an introduction to group. And at the end of Starting Point, if you want to go into group, you're more than welcome. If you don't, that's also all right. There's no expectation. But maybe maybe that group, maybe there's someone there that is your providential relationship. Maybe even this. Maybe you are the providential relationship to someone that's going to be there, because we need to start moving people from rows to circles. We need to start moving people into family so that people aren't alone. Guess what? As I'm standing here, I also have challenges just like you. My life isn't going like this. And those people of faith that you look up to, their lives aren't plain sailing. In fact, Jesus said there will be trouble. It's a guarantee. But because they surrounded themselves, even in tough times, with people of faith, they gained perspective. They are reminded of who they are, and they're reminded that this world doesn't impact their relationship with God and doesn't impact their reality. And that is the reality, that God is with them. So, that's you. I want to invite you afterwards. Starting Point, you can go right out the door and you can go sign up there. They'll show you how, not a lot of stuff. We're not going to ask for your bank details. That comes at the second session. I'm kidding. But yes, please don't miss this opportunity. This is, I really want to encourage you to do that. Now, before I end, there's another group of you who I want to encourage. See, I'm already trying this providential relationship thing. But here's the amazing thing. Providential relationships, we can't control it, because then it won't be providential. But we can throw as many seeds out there, and one of them, even if just one of them grows into something, it's worth it. Only way we can start being of that providential relationship to someone, the only way we are going to be a part of someone's faith story where they can look at you and say, man, if you weren't in my life, I would never have met Jesus. My life would never be the same. For Koos to be in that situation, it has to be intentional. Koos has to step outside of his comfort zone. Koos has to do something different. Koos can't just merely believe. Jesus can't just be a belief for him. Jesus is his life. He has to take that faith step and he has to live like God is on his side. So, this is the truth, and this is the invitation that I want to give you. A single invitation could position you to be a catalyst to someone's faith story. So, just this invitation could be, how actively are you spurring on and considering who is in your life? And who am I investing in? Who am I having that time? Who am I making time for? Even though I'm not getting anything out of that relationship, I'm going to invest in that person because God is investing in them, and I want to be a part of what God's doing. So last week I encouraged you to learn this creed. I don't know if you remember it, but don't worry, I won't embarrass you. This is what it said. I'll do what I can do so I can trust God to do what only He can do. And when we look at providential relationships, I'm just going to modify this for this week. And maybe this is your creed for the next week. Because you don't need to be anything else than God. You don't need to go do something special. You don't need to go and study to be a pastor. There's no things that you don't already have that God can use. Only thing that Jesus requires of you is to follow Him. What does that mean? It means this, that I'll do what Jesus said to do. I will listen to what He said to do. What did He say to do? Love one another as I have loved you. That is His command. That's the platinum rule. I will go and love one another, and I'll do it. And here's the amazing thing. God always comes in, and faithfulness, I love it. And trust God to do what He said He'll do. You just do what Jesus said to do. You just react on that prompting to phone that person. One phone call changed my life. When someone phoned me, stepped out of their comfort zone, and that was one of the most providential moments in my life. One phone call, guys. And it wasn't even a minute. It wasn't even a minute phone call. And that one phone call set in motion events that changed my whole life. Maybe that's you. Providential relationships. When others see God's faithfulness in my life, they become curious, which opens the door to relationship. Guys, and this is when the church becomes irresistible. This is when this community, this is when Christianity and following Jesus becomes irresistible, because people look at you and they see, I don't know what you have, but I want more of what you have. And they become curious, and it opens the door to relationship. Wouldn't it be great if every single person that followed Jesus, you could see God's faithfulness in their life? Every single person that claimed to follow you could see their faithfulness in their life, and through that, relationships are formed. Man, it would change everyone's perspective on church. It will change everyone's perspective on what it means to follow Jesus. And it would lead to more providential relationships that God ordained to be so. Relationships that are built on, not on what we do and who we are, but relationships that are built in a mutual trust. Trusting that God is who He says He is, and that He'll make it work. So we're going to end in not a prayer, but an invitation that Jesus said back all those years ago. And this was the invitation that He gave. So all who are weary, come. To all who are thirsty, come.
To all who are tired, if you're hurting, if you are in need, come. when people see us, they should want to come. They should want to be around you. They don't need to agree with what you believe. In fact, they don't need to hear what you believe, but they do need to see it. So I wanna. This is an invitation to those of you who just need to be reminded. But may this next song inspire you. If you're a Jesus follower, may it inspire you to take that step, make that phone call, give that invite, or go and drink that coffee with that person in your life. So I just want to do a battery change. Okay. Thank you, Jacqueline. If you're troubled, heavy-hearted, come to Jesus and find your peace. And if you're run down, empty-handed, come to Jesus and find your strength. He is hope for the hopeless, rest for the weary, help for the hurting. He is mending the broken, bearing the burdens, all that you're needing. He is. And if you're wandering in the darkness, come to Jesus and find your way. If you want freedom, need forgiveness, just come to Jesus and find His grace. He is hope for the hopeless, rest for the weary, help for the hurting. He is mending the broken, bearing the burdens, and all that you're needing. He is. He's the comforter, counselor, Prince of Peace, the author and maker of everything, defender, deliverer, King of kings. He is the helper and healer forevermore, Savior and shelter through every storm, my refuge, Redeemer, and Lord of lords. He is. He's the child of heaven and Son of man, provider, protector, the great I am, Alpha, Omega, beginning and end. He is hope for the hopeless, rest for the weary, help for the hurting. He is mending the broken, bearing the burdens, Thank you so much for joining us online. Thank you so much. Great to have you here. So remember, starting point, sign up just out the door, straight to the table. They'll be waiting for you there. The rest of you, if you just need to chat with someone or you just need prayer or something, go up to the gallery. We'd love to connect with you and chat to you, pray with you, whatever you need. And the rest of you, enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you next week. Cheers.